Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gaming Dadcast. If you're listening on audio platforms, here's your virtual wave, and if you're watching on YouTube, hello. So today we're going to be talking about Super Mario World, and we're going to be talking about game announcements, fun stuff. So let's go. Okay, for this story, make sure you have no prying ears in the vicinity or that you're wearing headphones. Okay, I'm going to be discussing a sensitive topic for some parents, and that topic revolves around a certain jolly old guy who delivers presents on Christmas Eve. Are you ready? All right, here we go. When I was young and my parents were still together, they both clearly knew I was super into video games. I had gotten hooked when my mother received a Nintendo Entertainment System for one Christmas year. And we played countless hours together. After having had such a wonderful time with the NES and various games on the system, the new system had been released, and I was all about it. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or SNES, that is the proper way to say it, was so cool. Crazy graphics, killer games, and a unique look to it. And of course, it had Super Mario World. I played the hell out of Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3. Yes, I am one of those people who absolutely loves Mario Bros. 2 and all its weirdness. So the next game in the series was of course going to be on my radar. I knew very little about the game outside the view ads I had seen, and the biggest addition was the green dinosaur Mario was riding, Yoshi. I vaguely remembered the NES game Yoshi, but I hadn't played it much, so I had completely forgotten about Yoshi. Seeing him in a mainline Mario game blew my mind, and I wanted to play the game so badly. Alas, you needed the new system to play the game, and that cost money. A lot of money for a young kid like me. Yet, I somehow ended up with the game. Though looking back on it, there was a lot of bad stuff that my child mind couldn't really comprehend at the time. This is A Christmas Story, Santa and Mario World. As any kid does with their parents, I continually dropped hints that I wanted an SNES and Mario World. I was probably as subtle as a brick being thrown through a window, but I thought I was being so clever, casually bringing up the amazing colors in the new game, saying things like Mario doing something, or riding my skateboard and saying it was like riding Yoshi. I made sure my parents knew where my interests were. Constantly. They were probably so tired of me. Regardless, I continued on with my SNES campaign, but I don't think I ever fully expected to receive the system and game. The year went on, and it seemed like all hope of getting the system and game had been lost. I still thought about it from time to time, and my friends hadn't gotten one either, so the thought of getting the system slowly left my mind. Then, Christmas came. I love Christmas time. My favorite thing is the Christmas tree. My dad was never big into Christmas, so it was up to my mom and me to do all the Christmas time activities. We would decorate the tree together, put presents under the tree, make the house look nice. Then there was the obvious reason I loved Christmas as a kid. The presents themselves. I was one of those kids who would analyze and review each present under the tree, guessing what it could be. Not just for my own presents, but everyone's. Well, the ones I didn't help get or wrap, of course. I had gotten really good at guessing presents, too, but this Christmas brought a surprise with it that I could have never guessed. See, at this point, I still believed that the jolly fat guy, Santa, existed and would find his way into each house to give his own presents to people. But one night, while my parents weren't around, I sifted through the presents under the tree and found a bigger one for me that was hidden a little in the back next to the wall. It read, "To Michael, from Santa." At first, I excitedly started to guess what it could be, but then It started to dawn on me. It wasn't Christmas yet, but I had a present from Santa under the tree. Why? Well, I started to put things together and realized that Santa was, in fact, my parents. I was actually devastated by this sudden discovery. I had been lied to, and that deeply affected me, even as a kid. My dad always made sure to never promise something he couldn't uphold, or say something that would turn out to be a mistake later on. He prided himself on never lying, or at least I had thought. And here was this blatant proof that simply wasn't true. Santa wasn't real, and here was a present for me. I spent the next week or so before Christmas extremely moody. I never told my parents what happened, and I didn't even know how I would bring it up to them to begin with, even if I wanted to talk to them about it. So I carried on with life. Thought, it was a bit duller and had less awe in it than before. Finally, Christmas Day came, and I had almost forgotten about the terrible lie I had discovered, but time came for me to open the dreaded Santa present. I reluctantly opened it, and suddenly all my sadness washed away. There in front of me in my lap was a new SNES that came packed with Super Mario World. I could not get it out of the box and plugged in quick enough. I was so happy and played the game for the rest of the day. I couldn't tell you what else I got that day. The only time I ventured away from it was when I was called to eat lunch and dinner. I loved Mario World, and it did something that I didn't realize affected me at the time. See, I have no clue if my parents left that present out on purpose or not by accident, or, if it was on purpose or accident, but I like to think it was calculated. You see, they never really had the Santa talk with me, and I think this is the event and the reason why that never happened. They left it out knowing I would find it in my present guessing ways, and they would be there to talk if I opened up. They made that same present, the one that broke the news to me, be the one gift I had really wanted for such a long time, hoping that would make the truth sting a lot less. And you know what? It did. Though the initial blow of finding out the truth behind Santa had shaken me to the core for that week, the gift of Mario World and a new SNES helped me through it. It went on to be my favorite Mario game until Mario Odyssey, released years later. I memorized the game, how to finish the fastest with warps, how to finish the game completely, where every item was, how to defeat every Koopa. I knew it all. The visuals, music, gameplay are still amazing to this day, and if it wasn't for good old Mario and his buddy Yoshi, I would have had a pretty terrible rest of my Christmas and quite possibly future years. You see, games can be so much more than just entertainment. And I will forever hold that SNES and Mario World on their own pedestal because they were part of a pivotal moment of my life, as stupid as it may seem now. The world is full of lies and bad things, but it's also full of wonderful things too. Those are the moments we live for. And instead of Santa, it was my parents that brought that to me. Topic today. Let's do it, man. Let's get to it here. Growing up, things like E3, magazines I'd get from the store, and hearing gaming news from people got me so excited. That feeling of hearing a new game I was interested in was so unique, and it's hard to describe. But I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you know the feeling I'm speaking of. Or perhaps you've had the same feeling with something else, a new movie, book, something, right? There's so many other possibilities. I loved hearing that a new game in a franchise I loved was coming soon, or a new game was coming that seemed like it would completely rule. Heck, the first game I remember really getting stoked for and seeing ads and commercials for was Donkey Kong Country for the SNES. Man, the graphics looked so good, and it was a totally new way to play Donkey Kong. This wasn't a short little chubby guy taking out a gorilla. No, 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 no. This was a proper DK game. and I was so excited when it was announced. Now, maybe this is nostalgia speaking here, but I don't remember the announcement and ads coming out too long before the game was actually released. That mixture of excitement from that first announcement to the other excitement that came when the game released was a consistent feeling for months. There wasn't time to get worried a game might suck or not be what you expected, or would it come out. It was, this game's coming out. A short while later, the game came out. That's how it worked. Over the years, and especially in the last 5 years or so, I've slowly gotten less and less enthusiastic about game announcements. There are many reasons I've gotten so cynical when it comes to announcements. No actual gameplay is shown. The release date is extremely far out. The game doesn't look as good as I had imagined it would be. But the worst aspect that has drained my excitement is that I go in just expecting the game to get delayed now. I see a date, and my first thought isn't, dude, I can't wait for this game. I can't wait for that date. My first thought is always, better add on at least 6 months to that date. Or even worse, when just a release year is given. My expectations go from the game being delayed by weeks or months to full years. It's sad that this is where I go to first for this medium that I enjoy so much. But it's been proven to be the average most of the time these days. I mean, the most notorious example of this is Cyberpunk 2077. The sad times don't stop there, though. Many times, after delays or long-lasting release dates, the game itself comes out and feels dated, half-baked, or just downright bad quality. Look, I am all about setting dates. For my job and any past jobs I've had, I've learned that setting a date keeps me focused and motivated. It gives me a timeline that I need to work within. And then I can create a nice personal timeline to get things done. But the difference here is that I set dates that are actually feasible. Though I have had to fight against similar issues with what I do for my day job, the problem is that certain groups in the company think a date should be hit here while looking at the income forecast. The actual people doing the work have a better grasp on a good timeline, and many times that date, these two dates and perspectives don't match up. In what I do, we find the common ground to make dates work with clients. I move the date up and still allow enough time to ensure a successful launch. It seems like the gaming industry has a bigger problem. The upper management wants a game release for shareholders' sake and money. Their decisions override others who may be wanting a later date. And thus, the timeline gets moved forward to a date that either can't be met or will cause the game to launch in a hot mess. There are countless live service games I've seen this happen to the past few years, and it shows no signs of slowing down. Hell, even single player games like the aforementioned Cyberpunk 2077 clearly needed more time to cook or just be revamped and modernized, but was released because it was taking too long and irrational release date was given. Though, they definitely aren't faultless and have had some slip ups, but Nintendo handles release dates better than most. Sure, some go through bad circumstances. I mean, look at Advance Wars and the horrible war going on between Russia and Ukraine and the timing of all that. Okay. And others were just announced way too early. Looking at you, Pikmin and Metroid Prime 4. But many times they announce a game and it will release only months later. Some good recent examples of this are Splatoon 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and Fire Emblem Engage. Even in the first year, the Switch had Mario Odyssey, ARMS, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Breath of the Wild, which were announced and released months later. Breath of the Wild was a bit different there. I enjoy this because it reminds me that I can be excited about an announcement. Again, Nintendo has messed up release dates before, but they seem to have the right method more often than not. And I'm hoping that they've kind of learned their lesson from games like Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime 4, Pikmin 4, and so on. You know, it seems like with every horrible news story I read about regarding crunch, horrible work conditions and office culture, and harassment of all varieties, it all boils down to the same thing: management sucks. This bleeds into everything, clearly affecting the entire project and the humans doing the work. Management, generally speaking, here, seems to not know what the hell they're doing. And so everyone and everything suffers in various ways. Good project management ensures that people are treated respectfully and that proper timelines are set early on, that those doing the actual work don't get overstressed or overworked, and that the product is the best the group can do. It doesn't mean everything is perfect or that the game itself will be the newest, best game of all time. It means that the project is completed in an appropriate timeline and the workers are treated fairly. When this kind of stuff happens, good things come from it. And I'm willing to bet that more often than not, the final product ends up being pretty great when these baseline things are met. So, example time. Let me give a couple of great examples of my long rant here. First up, the game Wolverine. So look, I freaking love that character, and between him and Spider-Man is one of my all-time favorite comic characters. Maybe one of my all-time favorite characters. So knowing there's a game coming from a competent development team is very exciting. What isn't exciting? Getting a brief CGI teaser and a release date that is years away. Plural. Just no. Stop that. My next example, AEW All Out. That game was announced, then even given a general release year, 2020, or 2022, which has come and gone. It got to a point where they were promoting to go and pre-order the game, but there was no date for the pre-order. This is just dumb. I really want the game to be good and I'm looking forward to it, but so much excitement has been sucked dry from that game for me. It was announced too early, so I have forgotten about it many times, and I'm a bit worried that development hasn't gone well. My final example is the coup de grace. Silksong. I absolutely love Hollow Knight, and it took me by surprise. I saw it announced for Nintendo Switch, then shortly after it released. I know it came to PC before, maybe some other platforms, so I can't speak on that release date, but for the Switch, after the game became a success story, they announced a follow-up game. Enter Silksong. This game was announced and some gameplay shown years ago. At this point, friends in my various groups have joked about the game being an actual myth and that it would never release. I'm sure the game will be quality when it releases. Well, at least I hope it'll be. But geez, this is not how you do it. Announce it, get everyone excited, then just disappear for years? Not cool, and has sucked so much excitement out of it. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, I will admit. Hades 2 was recently announced, and I don't expect that game to be coming to consoles or fully releasing till at least the end of 2023. I think they even made it pretty clear about that. But I'd say the reason for such an early announcement is because they plan on doing open beta, so they can get player feedback to make the game the best it possibly can be. Hades is one of my absolute top games of all time, and I truly believe the reason for that is because they incorporated the same method. Open the unfinished version up to groups of people so they could give feedback to it, and then they could take the good stuff and fix it, adjust it. The development team, Supergiant Games, then takes the feedback that seems to come up most and implements it into their game. So, okay, An early announcement for something like this makes sense. Doesn't bother me and keeps the excitement there. It sucks it won't come out for such a long time, but that's okay. They were very clear about everything, and the final product will be rad, and there's a reason for announcing it early. I really hope the industry starts to adopt smaller time windows between announcements and release date. I understand games are hard to make and that they take a lot of time. I'm sure there are other factors I simply don't understand or know about because I'm not a game developer. I'm not in that. I'm on the outside looking in here. But it would be so nice if the actual people working on the games and upper management could work together to decide proper timelines and dates and then announce accordingly. Keep that excitement going. That's it. Another episode in the books, and that is the last one in this string, this season, if you will. I've got something else going here. I'm trying to make it work, but again, me being so creative, I gotta keep pushing the boundaries because I'm crazy like that. But I'm trying something new. But anyway, that's the last of this format as of right now. Maybe in the future. I appreciate you guys. If you watched all of them, wow, I'm blown away. Thank you. I really appreciate the fact that somebody watched. I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments. What do you think about game releases? Any of the other things we've talked about over the past few weeks? What was a special game that you can relate to, like a bad thing happened, but the game helped you through it? Mario World's always going to be that game for me, I think. That was a pretty big deal for me. But anyway, I appreciate you, as always, and until next time, see ya!